And welcome back to the Cabbage Patch. I'm Dad.
I'm Tommy. And I'm Gus.
And today, what do we play?
Fast and Furious, the board game, which is better than the movies, I hear.
Yeah, the movies are kind of terrible. Fast and Furious Highway Heist. It's a Funko game. We like Funko games. It's for ages 12 and above. You're not 12 yet. For 2 to 4 players. All right. The game is a board game version of the heist movie where you've got different scenarios and you're trying to complete the scenario. So the very first scenario is this tank assault where you are trying to destroy a tank that has been stolen by a bad guy. And the way the game works is you each get a player car. It starts down here at the end of the board. Where'd the other player car go? And the idea is using 2 actions per turn. You can move your car. You can ram into a bad guy car. You can try to force another car off the road or into another space. You can get out of your car.
And jump onto another car and hijack it.
And try to jump onto another car and hijack it. You can punch somebody that's standing on top of your car if you're already outside your car. Or you can take over an enemy SUV. Or you can do this, take a boost token. The boost tokens give you advantages when you're rolling the dice. So you get those 2 actions. You can move up to, each character has a different level of ability. So there's character cards. So this is Vin Diesel's card. Can't really quite see him because there's too much there. And he's got a speed rating. He's got a speed rating of 3, and a control rating of 1, an athletics of 2, and a defense of 2. And then it pairs with a car. And each car also has speed, control, and defense. And between the 2 of them, you assemble a player board, and your abilities on any given turn, there we go, your abilities on any given turn are the combination of the points associated with each of those sort of ability tracks. And then each of the actions you take are based on one of those ability tracks. So to, say, ram an enemy SUV, which means to destroy it, you use the speed track. So now instead of just having 3 speed, I actually have 5 speed, and that's how many dice you roll. All right, so each ability track gives you a number of dice to roll for a particular action, and then that's how you actually perform those actions. So you move your cars around, and you're trying to get around these SUVs or destroy them by ramming them. And in this particular scenario, the only way to do damage to the tank is to put wrecks in front of it. So you have to push the SUVs in front of it and then destroy them. So it's like a game of bumper cars, right? It's like what's that game, the video game that we like, Burnout? Mm-hmm. It's a little bit like Burnout, right?
You ram into the cars and they hit other cars when they get blown up.
You ram into cars and they hit other cars when they get blown up, and you get points for it. And you keep track of sort of the damage that the tank has taken on this board here. Where did the little cube go? With these little cubes. And on your car, you keep track on the same thing with a little damage cube that shows you where you are. Let me put it over here so you can see it. Can you see it? No, can't see it. On Tommy's you can see it. There's a little cube right here in the upper right. I've got a little cube right here that goes here. Each car has 8 hit points. As soon as you get to 0 hit points, the car gets turned over and turned into a wreck. And at first it didn't make sense how that was going to work out, but it pretty quickly made sense.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Much funner than the Jurassic Park game, which we did last time.
Right, much more fun than Jurassic Park. So if your car is wrecked, or if there's a wreck in front of the tank, at the end of the turn, anything that's wrecked moves back 4 spaces. So it's as if you're going along on the highway at really fast speeds, and then the wreck bounces into the tank, or if your car is behind it, it bounces into your car, it destroys your car, etc. It doesn't seem like the characters ever die. So if my car is destroyed, I take one of these little character markers, and he jumps out to the next available car.
Yeah. And you cannot hijack the tank.
And you can't hijack the tank.
Which
So
is sad.
the characters can get out of the cars and jump between cars, and they get out of the cars before the cars get wrecked and exploded. And there's some fighting, and I think it's actually pretty darn cool. So there's some other things. There's stunts. I'm not sure we did this entirely right while we were doing it. The stunts are things where you get bonuses if you accomplish certain goals. Like if you put 2 cars next to the tank at the same time, and the tank only has a few hit points left, you can roll a dice and maybe win the game automatically. So there's special stunts that are there. So the game setup's pretty simple. The game tokens are pretty cool. I really like almost all the game pieces except for the tank, because our tank came with a bent
Nozzle.
gun, right?
Go too close, we can easily.
Yeah, it did, but it sort of folds back in on itself every once in a while. Other than that, the tokens are great, and there are 3 main scenarios. There's a tank assault, there's a semi truck hijacking thing, and there's a helicopter thing. And the play pieces for that are all very cool. And where did they go? The play pieces for that are all very cool, and
Is the helicopter?
that's the helicopter, and very, very fun to look at.
How do
Yeah.
we get onto the helicopter?
Well, that's a scenario we didn't do, so it would be in the scenario cards. So the scenario cards, there's enemy cards, and as you roll the dice at the end of the turn for the enemy, one of a number of things happens. One thing that happens is it's got a movement marker which is south, and a little skull, and that means that in this instance the main bad guy moves south. There's a north, south, west, and east on the thing here, right? And then the little skull thing means you draw one of the enemy cards, and the enemy cards do things when you reveal them, and as you draw new cards, they move off the board. And as the card gets to the end here, so something happens when you reveal it. So this one says, each enemy SUV moves 1 space towards the nearest wreck. Each player vehicle with an enemy peg on it is dealt 4 damage. And then they have to roll for defense, and defense is one of the skills. And as it gets down this thing, as you draw more enemy cards, and you move the cards down here, then you activate them when they get to this last space here. When activated, each player vehicle adjacent to both the tank and an enemy SUV is dealt 4 damage. So the activation happens, so you can see what's about to happen and try to prevent it. So we didn't do a lot of that because we weren't paying a lot of attention to those cards. So
We didn't really know how to.
yeah, so there's a couple of things that weren't entirely clear from the rules, but I think we got most of it right. Everything's moving east to west. Wrecked cars move east to west. If you abandon your vehicle and it's just sort of sitting here and you're on top of it,
It just kind of slowly.
it slowly moves backwards
backwards.
throughout the game until you get back in it.
If we don't get back in it,
It just
kind
kind of.
If you don't get back in it, it may eventually just move off the map, right? So I think it's pretty cool. What's the rules that we... So I think it was a little unclear what happened there at the end of the game when you turned over the last stunt card, if these kept going off, so we left them on here, but we didn't use them. I think that it was a little unclear at first how to move the enemy cards to the right. What's a rule that we didn't think of that we needed to keep remembering as we played?
Did it just get darker?
Yes, the lights just dimmed. Anything?
Oh yeah, I forgot to.
Right. So as you exhaust your 2 actions for the turn, you're supposed to take your character card and flip it over to the exhausted side, which means that you might have slightly less ability to do things like defend yourself. Although it doesn't really seem to be the case. But on that way, we don't take specific turn orders. That's, I guess, the thing to remember, right? Anybody can go at any time. We decide amongst ourselves who's going to go, right? Right?
Yeah.
And then you know that the turn is over when all 3 of us have turned over our player cards to the exhausted side, and then we do the enemy thing. And then we do the cleanup phase. I liked it. I thought it was fun.
It's not as chaotic and action-packed as something, say, Dorito in real time, at least.
That's true.
But in game time.
Yeah, I think it took us about an hour to play. So it's a little slower than I was expecting, but some of that was our uncertainty around it. What did you like about it, Gus?
Everything.
Everything? You liked everything about it? Really?
Yeah. was pretty nice.
What about you? What did you like about it?
I think it deserves at least a 2.
Okay, so we're not going to grade it yet. I'm just talking about like what what a particular mechanic that you liked, the card art, the tokens,
the card art and the tokens are pretty cool, and I also like the fact that you can just like when your car is blown up, and the fact of the wrecking and the stuff. I like the car mechanics that I like the wrecks and that you can hijack and turn other cars into your car.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool too. So you can hop out of your car, and when you hop out of your car, you put these little. They're called what are they called? They're light tokens. So it's like the undercarriage lights in cool cars, and now you know that that's your car, and you can get into it and drive it around. That's the other thing on the car hit points token. If you hijack an SUV, you just flip it over, and the stats for the SUV are on the other side of the car. So I guess that's it. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm going to play it again. I think we'll try to see if we can find another person to come over and play it with us, because then we can have a 4-player game.
Like,
yeah.
Someone.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
Yeah, somebody who might enjoy games. So, all right. So I guess we give it a grade. I'm going to give it a solid 2.
3.
You're going to give it a 3?
Yeah, it's for
about you?
2.
2? So 2, 3?
Well, yeah.
That's a 7. It's a solid game.
Solid
We'll play it
game.
again.
Nice, solid game.
Excellent. Like I said, I had fun. I was surprised, especially after the Jurassic Park problem. But it's relatively simple. It's pretty easy to set up. Funko, we've got a couple of Funko games. They've done a pretty good job of getting games that are easy for people to get into. There's, I'm not sure how many times we can play it since there are only 3 scenarios. But the 3 scenarios seem to have some replayability to them. So I expect that we'll play it a couple more times and have a lot of fun with it. So 7, 2, 2, 3. So that's 7 cabbages. Fun game. We liked it. We'll play it again.
Should we
Ready to do the outro?
Subscribe, like, hit that bell, Tommy.
Leave a fast and or furious comment if you like.
And plenty of nitrous cabbages.
Nitrous cabbages? That sounds terrible.
Oh, plenty of cabbages.
But not us.
Not us.
Not
We're
us.
covered in nitrous oxide.
Okay. And that's it.
Goodbye.
And goodbye. We'll see you next time.
Bye.